Welcome. Today we're talking with Colin Masson, Global Industry Director of Manufacturing at Microsoft Business Solutions, about cloud computing. Now, cloud computing is one of those terms we hear a lot about these days, and it's definitely transforming manufacturing. It appears that tomorrow's successful manufacturing business will be utilizing cloud computing to manage at least some aspects of their business. Colin, what can you tell us about cloud computing today?
So I think there's a lot of confusion around the cloud today. Really, how do we apply it in manufacturing? We're very traditional as manufacturers in wanting tight control of anything that may affect the performance of manufacturing. So on the one hand, I've seen some hesitance to move certain processes to this thing called the cloud. So increasingly I'm seeing conversations around hybrid cloud. So how do I take things that can actually safely be moved and not affect my core manufacturing or supply chain performance and move that to the cloud to get the benefits of scale, cost, perhaps massive computing power for certain key applications or performance, but then also make sure that I can overcome any fears about the latency involved in moving things to the cloud by having those things operate on-premise or in what is sometimes called a private cloud. So that's one of the first things I usually encounter when talking to manufacturers, is just overcoming some of those latent fears about losing some aspect of control when you move to the cloud. So with that, once we've got that fear out of the way and we can start to talk about how you can address those challenges of performance and start to talk about taking advantage of the trends, massive hyperscale that you can get from the cloud today, the conversations become a lot more constructive. And really, you don't talk about cloud in isolation. You've really got to talk about how can you leverage the cloud in a number of ways. One, and the most common one, is that really a cloud provider can run their infrastructure at a much lower cost than any one manufacturing company and their IT team. So there's always that cost element. And that's one area where you take non-critical processes and you can move them to cloud. And I always like to think about it as reducing your IT costs on those non-differentiated capabilities so that you can invest in innovation, new processes, developing new products or services for your customers. So leverage the cloud, reduce those costs, and then take that money that you're taking out of the almost the fixed cost in your IT budget, making room in that budget so that you can invest in things like 3D printing and robotics and the Internet of Things. Other areas of clearly where you can apply the cloud very much in manufacturing is in starting to think about combining it with mobility. The fact that, and when I talk about mobility, we'll talk about it as a separate topic, really talking about the mobile workforce and the fact it doesn't matter which machine they're at, which device they're on, maybe they need access from home, but really all of that implies that you've got to provide the applications, the visibility that they need into those business solutions, wherever they are. And that is much easier to do from the cloud than a set of fixed server technologies. Internet of Things is another area where the cloud comes into play. So if you now want to create a new service business where you're monitoring those machines that you've sold to a customer, whether it's a connected car, if you're a Ford or a GM, or a smart industrial machine if you're an industrial equipment manufacturer, collecting that data that is at customer sites is, again, easier to do that through a cloud infrastructure and collect it there, and then start to apply data analytics, machine learning technology on top of that data. So the cloud shouldn't be looked at in isolation. It's a key enabler really for servitizing your business, for getting greater insights into how customers are using your products through those smart connected products or industrial Internet of Things, and taking that data to the cloud, applying analytics to that, and from there, really getting customer insights and driving new product innovation.
Thanks for your great insights, Colin.